Hi, welcome to Addiscene. We're here at Addison Public Library, my workplace. My name's John Kokoris, and I'm the Community Services Coordinator for the library. And I'm actually joined by a very good friend of mine, our Teen Services Coordinator, Elizabeth Lynch. And Elizabeth, I was hoping we could share with viewers at home some of the new things we're trying with our teen population here at the library. And before you get started, I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork, describe the situation, chime in if I'm not doing an accurate job depicting the state of affairs at the library. We are really lucky to be situated directly across the street from Indian Trail, the junior high school here in Addison. And one of the advantages to this is that we get a steady stream of kids after school coming in here to use the library. Most other libraries that I know about, probably you too, would kill for just a small percentage of the amount of kids we have streaming in here after school. So it gives us a lot of opportunities, a few challenges to work with, and I'm wondering if you could kind of help enlighten me and enlighten the viewers about what you do here. So to start, how many kids exactly are we getting here after school?
We get on a normal day between 60 and 80, but it is not unheard of for us to get well over 100 kids.
Well, and that's at one time,
At
right?
one time, immediately after school.
Wow, so it can probably be a little overwhelming. What are they all doing here?
They're doing a lot of different things. Some are actually reading books or doing homework. Some are playing games on the computer, doing research on the computer. Some are going to our programs. We have 10 or more programs for teens every month.
Okay.
But some are just here to hang out, to be with other teens, to spend some time after school just relaxing.
That sounds fun, and it looks fun when I'm walking through the building around 3 o'clock every day. But tell me, is that like, what about the adults, in the community? Like, it's nice for the teens to have a place to hang out, but does this cause problems for adults, or what are we doing?
I think it's surprising for a lot of adults because they're used to kind of this old image of a library as being completely silent. And that's changing all over the country. We want to be a place where everyone in the community can feel like they can use it, they can be comfortable. We want little children to feel like they can play here and run around and use toys, all the way up to a senior reading a newspaper quietly in a chair. But that means that there have to be some places where people can talk to each other at a reasonable level.
So you're saying there's certain places that we encourage people to talk, and then, correct me if I'm assuming the wrong thing, there must be then certain places where you have to be quiet, or how does that work?
Yeah, we've organized the library into 3 zones, and we've actually made signs to indicate what zone you are in.
I've seen those around.
Yeah. They're so well designed, I think. And they indicate that an area is social, quiet, and silent. So in some areas you can talk at a reasonable indoor level. In some areas you want to whisper and keep it down. And in some areas there's absolutely no talking allowed.
All right, so it seems like it should work for everyone. I assume in the social zone you're not allowed to like play catch or yell at each other, but
we have some rules about behavior in general.
So what happens then if somebody's disregarding this sign, or if they're in the social zone but they're just too loud? As I assume that happens from time to time.
It does happen from time to time, and we've actually worked with Indian Trail that has a behavior system that we've incorporated into the library. It's basically a 3-strike system.
Okay.
If we have to ask you 3 times to do something, you're going to be asked to leave the library.
All right, so it sounds pretty fair, tough but fair. And how is implementing this system been going? I imagine you have some teens that don't maybe give us attitude. Like, are the teens responding well? Is the library staff responding well to the system?
Anytime there's a change, it takes a while for everyone to get on board, the teens and the staff. There's always incidents that come up that people aren't quite sure how to handle. But we've actually found that the teens especially have learned the system really quickly. And on any given day, you're going to walk into a social zone, It's going to be very loud, but if you're in a silent part of the library, you're not going to hear teens at all.
Oh, that's
so we
great.
think it's working really well.
Cool. And then how are we keeping an eye on the teens?
Well, one of the things that we've done is to have greeters at the bottom of the stairs and the top of the stairs, and those people make eye contact with every single teen that walks in the door, lets them know that we're watching them, and then as they kind of settle in, we're walking around the entire space of the library.
Okay, so it's nice that we kind of engage them right in the beginning, and then, so it's not just like we're swooping in when things are going wrong and yelling at them, but we
Well, one of the things I do is get to know as many of the teens as possible, so I can keep an eye on the kids who maybe have more trouble than others.
All right, well, it sounds like a very well thought out system.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to you. Let me know if you need any help ever. Is there anything, so we've got all these teens in here, we've got them under control for the most part. What are we doing with them? What are our goals with them? Are you doing anything fun or interesting right now?
We're doing a lot of fun stuff. We have a monthly open mic where kids can share their writing or their songs. We have a magazine where we publish their work. We have lots of gaming days, including a retro gaming day coming up. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on.
All right, well, it sounds like you know what you're doing. So thanks so much for talking.
Thanks, John.
And maybe I'll see you around the library.
Hopefully.
All right, now I've got a few things I'd like to share about other events in the library, not so much geared at teens, but the most important thing is the deadline for the Affordable Care Act marketplace enrollment is February 15th, and we have a lot of opportunities right here at the library where you can meet with a navigator or an in-person counselor to talk through any insurance questions you have. I know there's plenty of other opportunities around town, but here at the library we're doing Monday and Wednesday afternoons from 4 to 6, and on Saturdays, this Saturday, February 7th, from 1 to 5, and next Saturday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, from 10 to 5. So we're really happy. We've got people from the County Health Department, from VNA Healthcare, and they're not getting paid a commission or anything. They're just here for free, paid by the government, to talk to anyone who has any questions about insurance. So if you're not, if you don't have health insurance, this is probably a good time to come to the library and figure things out. Because there will be penalties that people will have to pay if they're not insured by the 15th. So that's kind of my most important announcement for the episode. We have a lot of fun stuff going on too, not that insurance can't be fun, but we have a job-seeking program on Wednesday the 4th at 6, and follow-up that deals with interviewing tips on Wednesday, February 11th. We have a online Finding Love Online course taught by our digital services coordinator, who has really a sad amount of experience using those services. I'm just kidding, but he is an expert, so he's sharing some of the tips that he's gleaned from reading from various sources. So if you don't have a date this Valentine's Day, don't give up yet. We also have a college financial aid expert coming on February 24th at 7 o'clock. We have a guitarista coming on February 25th, and plenty of other things in the works. If you check out our newsletter or go to addisonlibrary.org or just stop by any of the desks, we're happy to tell you more. So give me a call. My name's John if you have any questions, and I hope to see you around.
A picture-perfect lawn may look harmless, but its effects can be a real horror show. Rain washes fertilizer, bug and weed killers off your lawn, down ditches and drains, and into our rivers, where they can be toxic to wildlife and pollute our water. So cut back on lawn chemicals. Mow higher, leave the clippings, and enjoy a beautiful, healthy, safer lawn.
How do you feel about your commute these days? A little crabby? You can change that pretty easily. Just take Pace and feel happy as a clam. The savings will be a big change too. Travel in a more relaxing Pace.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Scott Helton, Superintendent of DuPage High School District 88, and we're excited to welcome you to the first segment of the State of 88. This will be an ongoing feature that highlights the news and successes of DuPage High School District 88, which is comprised of Addison Trail and Willowbrook High Schools. The State of District 88 will air on the fourth Wednesday of every other month on ACTV, and we look forward to sharing with you the great accomplishments of your hometown high schools. With me today, I have two students, Kelly McNamara from Willowbrook High School and Mike Robarczyk from Addison Trail. And joining me to celebrate the successes of Kelly and Mike are our principals, Addison Trail Principal Adam Cibulka and Willowbrook Principal Dan Kraus. At this time, I'd like to ask our principals to share the stories of success of our students from this past fall and why they're here with us today. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cibulka.
Thanks. It's my pleasure as principal of Addison Trail High School to introduce Mike Robarczyk here today. Mike was quarterback for our Blazer football team and exhibited tremendous leadership both on and off the field. He earned some tremendous accolades from being named West Suburban Conference Offensive Player of the Year, as well as being named West Suburban Conference All-Academic Team. I think his accolades culminated and were punctuated by his earning a selection as being named 7A Illinois Coaches Association All-State. Across the state of Illinois, Mike was recognized as one of the finest quarterbacks that we have to offer. So I want to congratulate him on a great season and a job well done.
Dan, would you like to share a little bit about Kelly?
Sure, thanks. With us today is Kelly McNamara. She is a senior at Willowbrook High School, but is an outstanding representative of the Addison Trail Willowbrook High School Cooperative Swimming Team. Kelly's been swimming for more than 10 years and is an all-state selection for 3 straight years, having been competing at the state meet, and this year was the first ever Addison Trail Willowbrook state champion in the 100-yard butterfly. It's exciting to be sitting beside someone who of this incredible talent, but also the incredible hard work that she puts in and dedication to her sport, not only during the high school season, but beyond for the club teams that she competes for. And most inspiring for all of us at both Addison Trail Willowbrook is she does this with neither one of our high schools having a swimming pool. So to have our first ever state champion in swimming is certainly a feat and definitely a compliment to who she is as an individual, as an athlete. So we want to congratulate Kelly, and we're excited to share her story today.
Both of our student athletes had an amazing fall, and I'd like to start with Mike. Mike, what were some of your most memorable experiences this fall?
Definitely starting the year off 7-0. Best start in our school's history, and that was a big goal for us to win a lot of games this year. We had high expectations, and another thing was winning the conference title. That's always our goal every year, and we were able to accomplish that. It was really nice.
Kelly, how about yourself? What were some of your most memorable experiences from this past fall?
I would have to say team bonding activities. We'd have breakfast after practice, or we'd have pasta dinners before meets. And also loved swimming at State. State's just an awesome meet. It's better than any other meet in my whole season. So.
Thank you. How did you get involved in your particular sports? Kelly?
My neighbor was a swimmer. She's a couple years older than me, and I wanted to be like her. So my parents put me in it, and I just kind of stuck with it.
How old were you when you started swimming?
I was 7.
7 years old. Wow. Mike, how about yourself?
My parents actually always wanted me to get involved when I was younger. Pretty much every sport I was in at a very young age, and football just really interested me, and I stuck with it, and I continued to play with it, and I had success with it.
Thousands of athletes across our state compete in both of your sports. What were some of the factors that contributed to your great success?
I would say my teammates and coaches. My teammates are incredible, and football is a very team-oriented sport, and you can't do it by yourself out there. And coaches put in hours of preparation every week to get us ready for the games, and it really paid off this year for us.
How about you, Kelly?
I would have to say kind of the same thing as Mike. Teammates and coaches, both in high school season and in club season, everyone's like so supportive.
To the principals, I mean, being a high school principal and being out and watching both of these athletes compete, your reflections, thoughts?
I had the pleasure of watching Kelly swim in the preliminary heats for the state finals, and just seeing the energy in that meet. As she said, it's one of the best experiences I think in all of high school athletics that we have in the state of Illinois. But seeing her finish first, and the excitement in her family, the excitement in her coaches, but I think also all the other swimmers throughout the state that she has competed against, that you've competed against and you swim with in club activities, seeing their excitement because they were cheering for her while she was swimming. And then to see the next day the video of her finishing first and then standing on that podium. I mean, that just is a testament to the dedication and hard work that goes into it. And then to finish as a state champion and swim that length in 54.83 seconds, it goes by in less than a minute, but it's a lifetime of memory. So it's exciting to be able to watch that in action.
Thank you. How about you, Mr. Sabalka?
Yeah, I mean, the excitement that Mike brought every Friday night to our stadium was something like I haven't seen in my 11 years at Addison Trail. We were never out of a series. We were never out of a game with Mike at our quarterback, and we competed against some of the top schools in the area and in the state, really. And we always knew that, if it was 3rd and 5, Mike could either run for that 5 yards or throw for it. And I think his team really rallied behind him because they knew they were never out of a game. And, we had some tough victories that he led us to, whether it be with his legs or his arm. And, the accolades are a byproduct of all the hard work that he put in the off season, going from his junior year to his senior year, as well as, his leadership on the field and getting his team to rally behind him and follow that lead.
How about challenges? What were some of your greatest challenges this fall, Kelly?
Our whole team has the challenge of not having a pool in our district. So we don't get as many hours in the water as most other teams in the state do, but we would do practice in the morning in the field house or the weight room doing dry land and conditioning instead.
Wow. How about yourself, Mike?
A big challenge this summer for us was we kind of redid our whole offensive scheme and play-wise, and it was hard for us to really pick up at first. We had a different offensive coordinator this year, and we really had to switch things up, and it benefited us, but it was tough at first, but we grasped it and we got it going.
Thank you. A big part of successful athletes is usually not only their own personal, work ethic and what they've done personally. It's also other people people usually refer to. So at this time, I'd like to ask you to talk about inspirational people in your life. Who were some of the inspirational people in your life?
My parents and brother are definitely the top inspirational people in my life. My parents always supported me, no matter what it is in life, sports, academics, just anything. And my brother has always been big on athletics. He had a scholarship to play Division I baseball out of high school, and always supported me with any sport in general, and really helping me and pushing me to be the best I could be.
Thanks. How about you, Kelly?
Definitely my parents. Over the past 10 plus years, they've gotten up and driven me to practice and swim meets and everything. And also my coaches, because they push me a lot. Swimming is not easy, so it's easy to try to give up.
What advice would you have for a student athlete on balancing academics and the workload it takes to be one of the best in the state? Both you guys are there and you've done it. So what advice would you give to somebody, maybe an incoming freshman who wants to be a state champion and a great student?
I would say to try and do your best to manage your time, because sports take up a lot of time after school, so you have to keep your grades up. So you have to really be careful and do everything when you can.
I would say the same thing. Time management is absolutely key with academics and whatever sport you are participating in. There needs to be a set time where academics come first, and you have to get stuff done in the classroom and be a leader in the classroom, and then you have to set time to really push yourself and your teammates out on whatever sport you're playing. And I feel like that contributes a lot to being a good athlete and a good student in the classroom.
At this time, I'd like to ask our principals just to reflect on their successes and the effect on school culture, to see Kelly and to see Mike and how they impact not only themselves and their success, but their teams and the culture of the school.
You know, I think about Kelly a lot because as a senior now, you know, in her final year, the impact she's had upon our entire school. She's a quiet leader because she leads by example, and I think that's, you know, what I always think of when I see you in our hallways. Everyone knows exactly who you are and who Kelly, you know, who Kelly represents in terms of her accomplishments. But I think because of how you hold yourself and the examples you have in terms of leadership, not only athletically but across our building, has been something for our entire student body to rally around. And it's exciting, you know, because state championships are not something that happen, again, as we said, in an individual day. They take years of commitment and dedication and work, and that's exactly what we try to instill upon our students throughout their high school careers, is that they're always persevering and working toward a larger goal. And having an outcome like a state championship is something that I know is that resonates well with all of our students. And they look at Kelly and say, I know she can do it, even without a pool in our own building, despite all the myths and the rumors that we try to, you know, dispel that there's a pool hidden somewhere. But her hard work and dedication is truly a great example for all of us.
And I'd echo a lot of those same things. I mean, the buzz that was in the air around Addison Trail in the fall was just something that couldn't be described. I mean, Mike's legacy stands by itself, and you know, in being on the sidelines and hearing some of the talk of the fans, I mean, they're putting him up there with the greatest quarterback that ever came through Addison Trail High School. And while that's one element of who he is, he's a great student athlete, you know, and he gets the job done on the field and in the classroom. And that's a great example to set for the program. And I think probably the best legacy that Mike will have left is not one of individual accomplishment, but one of what the younger athletes see, what the younger guys on the football team see and saw every single day in practice and you know, in the team rooms when they're studying plays and film. And I think that's a testament. The legacy they'll leave is one of an example of what hard work does for someone and how it does pay off. And that's a true legacy of Mike Grabarczyk in my mind.
Obviously, the loss to Willowbrook High School when Kelly goes off to college and Mike, you know, the Addison Trail going off to college, it will be somebody else's gain as far as some college or university in this country. And I'd like to ask Mike and Kelly, what are your future plans?
Right now, I plan on playing Division II football somewhere. I have an offer right now from McKendree University down south in Illinois. And I'm also taking a couple visits this weekend to Winona State University in Minnesota, Duluth. And I'm going to see what happens with that, and hopefully know by signing day next week, Wednesday, and make a commitment and sign.
Outstanding. How about yourself, Kelly?
I'm planning on either attending the University of Iowa or the University of Kentucky and swimming there, but I haven't decided which one yet.
Well, Kelly, Mike, thanks for representing your respective schools in District 88 in such a high-quality manner. We really appreciate it, and I'd like to thank you for being here today. I'd also like to thank Dan Krause, principal of Willowbrook, Adam Sabolka, principal of Addison Trail High School. As you can see, District 88 communities have a lot to be proud of with the accomplishments of Addison Trail and Willowbrook students. And so often we ask the public not to judge us by our accomplishments, but by the types of students we turn out. And obviously Mike and Kelly are great examples of that. Stay with us, and we'll be right back to discuss important updates and the new state assessment that students will take this spring. Thank you.
Dear Mom, I don't know how to start saying something like this. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have gone to the party. I've entered a world I don't want to be a part of. I'm in hell, Mom. A nightmare, and I need you to help me. I'm so afraid it's too late. Everything spiraled out of control. I want to be your little girl again. I love you, Mom, and I don't know where to turn.
Dear baby girl, I wish I could have helped you. You would have never done anything, ever, for me to hate you. I just wish I could hold you in my arms and tell you it's all going to be okay, that we can just go back to the way it was. I love you, and I'd do anything to hold you in my arms one more time. Love, your Mom.
Welcome back. With us now are District 88 Assistant Superintendent Gene Barbonente, Willowbrook High School Principal Mr. Dan Kraus, and Addison Trail High School Principal Mr. Adam Cibulka. Today's topic is a topic it's not new to us. It's about assessment or state testing, and it's about accountability, which with all my partners at this table understand fully well. We've been, as long as we've been in education, we've had some kind of state test every year that we've been in this business. I'd like to talk about where we were with state tests and what we measured. And by the way, both schools have made top schools in America, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report, the Washington Post. Now we find some of that data moving into the niche. A lot of information given to the public, given to the state from assessing our students. And I'd just like to have the principals share their thoughts on where we were and then our transition into this new state testing cycle starting this spring. So I'll turn it over to our guests here and get their initial reaction. Mr. Cibulka.
Sure. So previously, our students participated in the Prairie State Achievement Exam, and that was a 2-day test which included an ACT exam, which students need for college entrance, as well as a WorkKeys exam. And the WorkKeys exam provides a certificate of career readiness that students can use for their college resumes, as well as to bring it to employers upon job interviews, and it gives a certain level of credentialing that our students have and they exit our schools with. Great thing about the WorkKeys and the National Career Readiness Certificate that they receive is it never expires, so they have the opportunity to use that even when they graduate college. But anyhow, we had since 2001 taken the ACT and the WorkKeys exams, and that provided us with feedback on how our students did on a high stakes exam. Our students were given a free ACT and WorkKeys exam, so the state did provide that for us, which allowed students who may not have in the past, when everyone had to pay for an ACT, it allowed students who may have had trouble paying for that the opportunity for a free ACT. It really leveled the playing field, so all students could have the opportunity to take an exam, to open a door for themselves once they exited our doors and moved on into college. So this was the form of our accountability. We received an annual report on how many students met or exceeded standards, as well as things like average ACT scores and those types of things. And we really use that to help drive our instruction, provide feedback for students, and figure out what are the next steps to prepare all students for college and career.
Dan, how did that assessment cycle then affect what teachers were doing in the classroom?
That 2-day assessment, which was taken by juniors throughout the state of Illinois, provided an opportunity for us as high schools and then directly into our classrooms, align our curriculum not only to the state assessment, but to what we knew the college and career readiness expectations were for the students when they left high school. So while we were transitioning with that assessment to help better align what was happening on a daily basis in our classrooms and the assessments that we were providing for each course, we were also on a large scale as a school looking at how our students were performing over time, and as they made that transition from life after Willowbrook High School and life after Addison Trail to wherever they decided to go on and continue their education. As the Common Core standards became adopted throughout the United States and certainly within Illinois, we saw a transition to the types of assessments that were being developed to help to determine whether students were meeting expectations with the new Common Core standards. So Illinois, in partnership with a multitude of states across the country, one of 2 different consortiums, started to develop what is going to be known as the PARCC exams, and the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers. And this is a transition for where we've been, because these are course-based exams in contrast to grade level. It also means multiple exams in contrast to the 2 days of assessment that Mr. Sobolka mentioned. You know, the component of the Prairie State that was beneficial is that there was minimal disruption to the classroom. We could predict the dates that we scheduled the dates that we would be assessing our students, and we had time markers in place for ourselves in a schedule. The park exams are much more extensive. For example, this year as we administer them for the first time, there are 9 sub-tests for the students who will be taking the assessments, 5 of which are in English language arts, 4 of which are in math. So it's a uniquely different assessment than we've seen in the past. It's also what's known as a more performance-based assessment. So no longer is it simply multiple choice type of assessment items, which is fine because it actually will more authentically assess the students, but it's much more comprehensive in terms of the type of assessment tasks and items that the students will experience. And then the last component for us that is completely unique is that the ACT and the work keys were given in a paper pencil format. The park exam will be delivered through the use of technology or given online. So that is a transformation, not only in the type of assessment we'll be giving, not only the time of year and the parts of the assessment, but also the delivery system for us. So we're truly in a transition now as high schools, especially throughout the state of Illinois, to administer the park exam.
Gene, I want to ask, from an organizational standpoint, as we transition from ACT, which was driven by the college readiness standards, to the park, which is driven by Common Core, how did we transition as a district? I'd like you just to kind of explain what we did to get all the departments ready for such a transition.
Sure. So for the last 2 years, since the adoption of the Common Core standards at the state level, we have been working to align our curriculum across the district in every content area to the new standards, which requires collaboration between the two buildings so that when we look at common courses, that we have the same standards identified in terms of priorities, as well as what we call common assessments. So our staff has worked to create assessments that are common throughout the district by course about every 6 weeks that would indicate whether students are meeting the standards for that course. These assessments are quite different than what they were in the past, and like what we're seeing within the park type assessment, they are more problem-based. There's much more writing involved in terms of assessment. You'll see less multiple choice. And what we want to see is that we are assessing higher level problem solving skills, higher level thinking. And so we say that when we look at the test items, we want students to be constructing more. You will see on the reading tasks that there is more complexity to the text that is chosen, so more rigor there. There's a heavy emphasis on argument writing with the identification of evidence. A lot more in relation to academic vocabulary in context. And really, even on the ELA side, a lot more nonfiction reading, so that students are gaining more content through nonfiction text as well. So for us, it's been a tremendous shift across the district to prepare students really for college and career readiness, not so much just for the park exam, but also beyond that, because we know that as we send students off, our goal is for all of our students to be ready for college coursework without remediation when they enter their post-secondary institutions. And so we know that a more rigorous assessment system is going to prepare them for that next level.
Late December 2013, early January 2014, the state came out with their park testing schedule and identified that juniors in the state of Illinois, people taking the equivalent of junior level classes, would be tested. And I appreciate members on this team really working to get their voice heard that we needed to change. Can you explain why, Dan?
Yeah. As we said about the Prairie State exam, the ACT being a driving component for our juniors, as they prepare to complete their college applications and knowing that that assessment is still utilized at the post-secondary level as to entry level, it is a priority exam for them. The state of Illinois has funded and allowed high schools the opportunity to provide the ACT again, and we knew that we were going to accept that opportunity for our juniors. So our juniors this year will be taking the ACT and the work keys again, as they had in the past. It is not the state accountability assessment any longer, but we knew it was a great option for our students, given that they have been in our system throughout their careers and where they're going after us, and since the PARCC exam is still new. But it also meant that if the PARCC exam was going to be administered to them, there would be the equivalent that they'd be taking the ACT assessment, the work keys, as well as the 9 components of a PARCC exam. And we knew that for their junior year, which is one of the most critical years of high school as they make their transition to post-secondary level, we did not want to inundate them with statewide testing. We have, as Mrs. Barbonente said, we have a tremendous assessment program throughout the high school career that is already integrated into our courses, and to have this level of testing that they would have been committed to, we knew would take them out of the classroom too often. So we appealed at multiple levels, with the help of the superintendents, curriculum directors, the principals throughout the state, especially at the high school level, to say there should be other options for administering the PARCC, and knowing full well in other states that the assessments were already developed and ready to go at different grade levels. We appealed to the state of Illinois for some flexibility.
Any other feedback on the challenges with junior level PARCC testing?
Well, I think that one of the issues with the PARCC itself is the relevance to students. So one thing that we knew with the ACT and the work keys is there was that relevance. It existed with opening up a door for a student in terms of their application process to colleges and universities. At this point in time, we have not seen a college or university that is going to be accepting the PARCC exam. And so therefore, from a student's perspective, there's very little relevance right now for them. We felt that the change moving from junior year to freshman year will allow our freshman students who seem to have PARCC testing in their future the opportunity to get experience and get exposure. So if that was to come on board where the PARCC exam was accepted by colleges and universities, they would have that experience, and they would have had by their junior year 3 years of experience. So we thought that given the relevance issue and concern that we had, testing juniors where they already have a testing heavy year, as Mr. Krause had mentioned, didn't make a whole lot of sense. But moving it to freshman year and allowing the students that would most likely be taking those assessments in the future, that practice and that experience would best benefit our freshmen.
It's interesting you talk about the change and that transition from juniors to freshmen, and it's interesting about 30 superintendents last January met in District 88 and actually talked about the challenges of administering PARCC to the juniors. I think they quantified the number of days a junior would test would be 36 of the last 45 days of school. And it didn't make sense. And then the competing priorities, the college admissions pieces were brought. They created a position paper and took it to the state superintendent in March. In April, Dan, you hosted a symposium at Willowbrook. You even brought in college presidents to question them on the viability of using a PARCC for entrance into college, and using all that information and moving with the state on this and continuing discussions. And Gene's curriculum director association meeting with Representative Chapa-Lavia and Senator Biss, getting all that information on the table and saying, please help, because the kids in our communities and our schools need you to listen. And on December 1st this year, the state gave us the option to do this. And also they gave us the option, will we administer the ACT? So that's kind of that journey to where we are now. Gene, you've had to do some things with the board too, of education in District 88 to get them to this point, ready for ACT and PARCC. What kind of things have you had to do with the board to get them ready at this point?
We have been in constant communication as the changes have come down from the state related to flexibility and what our options were for this year. But we have felt strongly at this point that we want to continue the ACT testing because of, as was said, the relevance to our students, We also have, we also will be continuing the use of Explore and plan testing as well with practice ACT testing, because we know, again, that test still holds high value for our students in terms of college entrance. But as was stated with the move to the 9th grade, algebra and ELA 1, English Language Arts 1 testing for PARCC, we also have to prepare for that as well. So when we look at a balanced assessment program in the district, we really have to focus on what's happening in the classroom on an everyday basis. So if we know that more rigorous curriculum is good and sound practice for our students, that's where we're focusing our time and our efforts. We're trying not to, again, chase after one specific high stakes assessment that's not certainly sound practice. So it's really looking at how to balance within our whole system an assessment program that has relevance to our students and holds the rigor, and yet making sure that if we do have high stakes testing that is going to be important for our students, for example, the ACT, that we're also making sure that we're preparing students for that test as well. So we're trying to proceed in the most balanced way possible, and waiting again for the long-term plan from the Illinois State Board in relation to future years.
How about your associations and the work that you're doing outside, the Illinois Principals Association, CAD, the Curriculum Directors Association? What are you hearing from them related to other schools and school districts and their reactions to PARCC and getting ready for PARCC and even resistance to PARCC?
Yeah, Dan and I are a part of the Illinois Principals Association, as well as a DuPage County Principals Group. And the sentiments are pretty much the same. You know, the main concern we have right now is obviously the testing time, the time away from instruction students are going to have, because they're going to be testing for about 2-hour chunks of time for these 9 exams that Dan had previously mentioned. And so, again, while we are all for accountability and believe that we need to measure what students learn and know and can do, we want them to also be in the classroom and have the opportunity to learn that material. And we want to figure out an assessment structure that's consistent with best practice and measuring the growth of a student. So, you know, when we talk to our principal colleagues, they're giving the same sentiments. Another piece that is of concern is the technology element of it. Area schools have tested the technology piece, and it's had mixed reviews. Sometimes the technology does hold up, other times it does not. Most schools are using the technology-based or computer-based tests. Some are doing paper and pencil, but you know, there are those kinks that have to be worked out. We will be taking a computer-based assessment in District 88, both at Addison Trail and Willowbrook. And so we have been working with our technology coordinator and our teams within our buildings to set that up. However, there's always the element of the unknown, and those that have taken the early testing have experienced some of those issues, and you know, we're going to try to have solutions to those prior to our testing.
From the curriculum side, we have a consortium that is titled the Chicago Area Directors of Curriculum and Assessment. It involves the largely assistant superintendents, district office personnel from all of the area high school districts and unit districts. And there's been a great deal of concern about the PARCC implementation for the reasons that have been stated in terms of the time that it would take away from classroom instruction. And the vast majority of high schools in the area have moved to grade 9 testing for this first year, for the reasons that were stated earlier about that these students would be the ones that would be taking the PARCC test assessments in the future, but also that decision would impact the least amount of students at this given time. We don't know at this point how accountability exactly will be measured for schools in terms of the PARCC. Because it doesn't involve all students at a grade level. For example, even though we're saying grade 9, it's only the students that are enrolled in Algebra 1 or English, freshman English, for example. We have students that take other math levels, take geometry at freshman year, that would not be involved. So we don't know exactly how the state is going to apply accountability to schools in this first year. So it's been kind of the group decision across the area schools to look at where we would have the least amount of impact for this first year when things are still in a state of flux.
Dan, how about the DuPage County Principals Association? Where are they at with this?
As I think both Adam and Jean stated, collectively as high schools, this is a different type of assessment model than we've experienced before. And while we welcome any type of assessment, as we've said multiple times, to measure our students, we want it to be meaningful and we want it to be aligned to what we do on a daily basis. We felt that the ACT, although we may not have always agreed upon how it was utilized in terms of accountability, we recognize it provided value for our students and our families because it was free. It meant that everyone in the state of Illinois was provided that opportunity to consider post-secondary options when maybe before they had not considered it before. There are quite a few unknown components to PARC at this time, and I know that for all of us in education, when it comes to working with our students, we like to work with absolutes and things that we know that we can count on for our students. And generally when it comes to assessment, and especially a large-scale assessment that's going to take students out of the classroom for this amount of time, collectively we're all concerned that there are still some unknowns. While it may be a completely valid and valuable assessment in the long run, we know this transition time is for all of us means that there are still students in front of us. There are still students in the system right now that are going to experience this. And even at our own buildings, when we meet with our student groups and our student leadership teams, they have the same feedback. Their concern and question is about what this means for them, especially at the high school level. While at early grade levels, a pattern of statewide testing is a component to what they grow up with. By the time they reach high school, they're thinking about life after high school, mostly because that's the conversations we have with them. And we're talking to them about what they're going to need to be successful at the next level. That's the everyday experiences in the classroom. That's being successful on the assessments and other components to our curriculum, but it also means that there are certain aspects like statewide testing that is going to be impacting their day. So from the standpoint of the county and then at the state level, I think the high schools are probably in the most amount of transition right now, from where we were as the past in the state of Illinois to where we're moving to in the future. And while at the time with the Prairie State and how it was utilized for accountability, we may not have always seen eye to eye on those aspects, we at least knew that at the individual student level, it provided a specific value to them, and it was a credential that they could leave with. While PARC may have that eventually, right now for where we are with the kids in front of us, we have a lot of concerns because they don't have that available right now.
Well, on behalf of the board and the district administration, I have to thank our teachers for the unbelievable work, and our students and families for partnering with us along the way. And I want to let each of you close as we wrap this up, just on your final thoughts about PARC or the process or anything. I mean, we haven't been afraid of accountability ever. We've stepped up, and in this situation, moving to a new test, new schematic here, new curricula, you've done a great job, and I want to thank you guys as the leaders in District 88. A couple seconds just to kind of wrap your thoughts up, and we'll just kind of go around. Adam?
Sure. I think, while we are in a state of change here, one thing you can expect from Addison Trail and Willowbrook High Schools is a continued focus on student achievement and preparing all students for college and career. As Dr. Helton said, we have been named one of the top schools in America, both of our schools, and this is a great district, and our continued mission will be to make sure students are successful at the next level.
And I think you alluded to the commitment of our staff, the work that they do internally, knowing that the information that has been provided, staff development teams in each of our buildings working with their colleagues to be sure that the curriculum alignment and assessment development is at the most rigorous level so that our students are prepared for whatever assessment that is ahead of them, either internally or externally. That's a commitment that we have always had as a district. We take great pride in. It has helped us to be recognized, not only locally, regionally, and throughout the state, but nationally and at times internationally as some of the top high schools available to students. So we take great pride in that. We're very, very pleased and want to thank again our staff and our students for their commitment to that.
Thank you.
In terms of as parents, what to expect, going forward, and how to help to prepare your students for these types of assessments and to be college and career ready, we would always say that the most important factor is to choose the most rigorous curriculum possible. that has been the #1 factor that has helped prepare students to go to that next level and be prepared for all the challenges of post-secondary, no matter what assessment is in front of them.
Thank you for joining us. On behalf of Adam, Dan, Gina, myself, we want to thank you for joining us, and we want to thank you for your continued support for District 88. Be sure to join us again during our next segment, which will air on March 25th, right here on ACTV. Stay up to date with all the great things happening in District 88. Visit our website at www.dupage88.net, where you can sign up for our electronic newsletter and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.